YouTube, Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Last night was pretty interesting, and really the whole day yesterday was pretty interesting. I got to cover maybe the tail end of the event. By that point, most of the storms had gone. Wind reports from yesterday were pretty intense from the looks of it. There's a lot of damage over towards Tennessee in particular. There were about 278 reports total. There were actually a couple of tornadoes as well off to the west towards the evening and overnight hours. By the way, Kyle, that forecast was pretty accurate. But we do have another slight risk today, so as I've been saying before, the streak continues. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. As I am, make sure you're smashing that like button, decimating that subscribe button, and also hitting that share button. Also, if you hit that subscribe button for the first time, make sure that you are getting that bell on so you're notified of every video. That also helps us get more of this info out to the people that need it. That being said, let's get into it here. There's multiple areas where there's a 2% tornado threat. Even so into the marginal risk area, which includes Nashville, Bowling Green once again. Well, actually more so towards Nashville and Jackson, and Chattanooga. Chance of storms again today. This is all being set up by a stationary front that set up over this region the other day. And with it not moving, the severe chances will continue to cross this region. Also, the main threats today are wind, but especially hail, where we have a couple of different hatch risk regions, one including the Twin Cities, and another one that's including Norfolk, Nebraska here, Lincoln as well. Omaha, you're on the fringes of that, but within the slight risk for hail. And then the damaging wind threat, there's no hatched risk for that yet, but there always is that chance that it could happen. So we have to make sure we're keeping an eye on this region today. Go ahead and take a look at these models here. I'm going to start out by looking at the wrap at 200 meters. This is right at cruising altitude for a lot of your jet airliners. And from what you can see here, you have this little wind maximum here. We wouldn't call this a jet streak since it hasn't hit 100 knots, but this little wind maximum develops over this region here. And this is going to be the main catalyst for severe weather, especially on the southern flanks of this is where I would expect most of the significant weather to occur here. And here's a torr sounding right here, for example. This is not too impressive from a kinematic perspective. Storm motion could be a little bit weird. But as a whole here, if you were to look at other parameters here, it's not unimpressive. Lapse rates are pretty good. The significant hail potential, it's actually up to a 1.4. Usually you start to get the chance for a big time hail. The hail analogs are looking pretty impressive as well. D-Cape is good. Cape itself is good. And not really much in the way of inhibition to try and inhibit this potential area of development here. It all depends on if a storm fires in this region. Could we have problems? But as far as a tornado is concerned, I'm not too concerned about that. If you actually look at the analogs, it's non-tornadic. These are non-tornadic tags here for the storm here. But there's a chance of this having classic supercell features or characteristics here. So not a big tornado day, but definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. As far as low-level shear is concerned, just looking off this sounding, not really a whole lot to go off of here. So like I said, not anything to be too concerned about with the tornado threat. Like I said, main threat will be damaging winds and hail. And this is right before sunset from my area, so I'd say mid to late afternoon for this region is when the threat really starts to ramp up here. No super robust trough with this one by any stretch of the imagination, so I'm not too concerned with this one for now. But it's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on. And this whole storm system itself is going to be something to watch as we go further down the line. Let's take a look at the 500 millibar here. Storm direction is pretty much coherent with what we're seeing at 200 millibars. And this is towards 20Z, and you can kind of already see what's going on here. Takes a little bit of a shift here, and trough tries to develop here, but it's got more of a positive tilt than anything else at the moment. Nothing no real heavy negative tilt. So like I said, most likely what we'll see is this end up developing into an MCS as time goes on throughout the evening. But as far as like the severe threat, like I said, nothing super robust at the moment. Model guidance can and often does change here. One key component when it comes to severe weather also is looking for a shortwave here. That's what we're doing at the 700 millibar level. And there isn't really too much of one. There's a very weak shortwave in best case scenario as far as severe weather is concerned. But even then, it's nothing robust. I would guess this would be a shortwave at best here, but even then, like I said, nothing crazy strong, nothing crazy robust here. Something to look out for. But if this can organize, though, we could be talking a different story, though. And shortwaves are known for doing that. They're one of the hardest things to forecast in severe weather. Lastly, we're looking at the low-level jet here. Not really a lot to work with here. Maybe towards Twin Cities you could see something, but I think timing is going to be the biggest inhibiting factor over here. And there you go. By the time the low-level jet does pick up, we're starting to get a bit of inhibition here. I think the timing is just not going to be right for tornadoes on this one as of right now. Like I said, things can change very quickly. So throughout the day, let's just make sure we're staying weather aware over these regions. As far as moisture return is concerned, it looks like we do have ample moisture. It's not the most incredible moisture return I've seen by any stretch of the imagination here, but as far as Nebraska and Kansas, that's a real point of interest to me as far as that's concerned. Because by the time of storm initiation here, there's a few pockets of 70-degree dew points. The air's more than ripe to help produce significant storms. Because usually you want to, I think the minimal baseline is about 55. Once you get into the mid 60s, you're starting to really cook with grease here, so to speak. Go ahead and take a look at the temperatures too. It's no surprise, we already know it's hot. All you have to do is really look at the week-long forecast that I did, and you'll be able to put 2 and 2 together. It's not going to take much. But yeah, this is towards 23Z, widespread 80 and even 90-degree temperatures. So we have a pretty nice little hotbed here for severe weather as far as the kinematics are concerned for the most part. Here's our instability or CAPE. And what we see at about 22 to 23Z, we're seeing mixed layer CAPE at values at about maybe 1,500 to 2,000 kilograms, even some 3,000s here. So definitely something, like I said, definitely something that we need to be watching very closely. And these push off to the south a little bit more too, so maybe the slight risk could get extended south depending on how the cap acts over here. But right now I mainly have seen more so western Kansas than anything else. But like I said, depending on how this cap interacts, and right now it still seems like it's pretty strong by this point. Of course this is 05Z, but if we were to go back a couple hours here, maybe we might see something different here. In fact, there we go. Marginal TOR threat. D-CAPE's pretty good. Lapse rates are steep. And EHI is pretty strong. But again, the cap is still a factor. So, like I said, some question marks with this setup a little further to the south here. But it's interesting. Like I said, kinematically speaking, though, regardless, the setup is just not really super conducive to tornadoes. So I guess we'll go ahead and take a look at lapse rate, since hail threat is probably going to be the most dominant threat, it seems, off of this one. And you get some pretty steep lapse rates to start out the evening over here across this region here. We got plenty of 6s, 7s, even a few 8s in there. So there could be a potential for some pretty large hail here. I think we could actually see a hatch risk maybe develop over here towards Kansas-Nebraska line here, towards western Kansas and parts of southwestern Nebraska. So definitely another thing to keep an eye on there. So lastly, I guess we'll go ahead and take a look at the radar here. There's 2 sections in particular that I'm really interested in. And it's, of course, within that slight risk, but going to have to shift the radar in 2 different spots. So we'll go ahead and take a look at things real quick here. Here's that first little pocket of storms right here around 21Z, which will be about 3 o'clock my time. So just after lunch for this Central Plains here. So that first round goes through. Second round begins to develop around OZ. If needed be, I will be going live for this one. It all depends on what time I get off work. And then as time goes on, we see this try to develop into an MCS, but it looks really messy by this point, actually. But like I said, depending on how the cap acts here, we could see some nocturnal severe weather possible too. So it gets interesting. We're going to shift a little further to the north now, so that way you can keep track of what's going on over here towards the Twin Cities. And from what I can see here, it seems like a pretty similar deal. Severe threat is going to be a little bit later into the evening, so going to most likely be tracking this. But also another thing to note here is keep an eye on this area of spin that's coming down from Canada. I think that might increase the tornado threat just slightly, hence why that 2% area exists. So got to be watching very, very closely over here towards the Twin Cities, especially to the north. So like I said, a lot of stuff to keep an eye on today. If needed be, I'll try to make posts throughout the day to keep things on the linear as far as like updates are concerned. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. Smash that like button and decimate that subscribe button. Also share the video so this can get out to the right people. And also, if you have any questions in the comments, feel free to shoot. But anyway, this has been Tyler Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care and have a nice day.